You're on the podcast with
Dino and Ashley. So we are free and clear today with trying our new gear. And I mentioned this on my stories and a lot of you were asking what it was. I don't know, but I'll send the link somewhere. Well, let's first see how the quality is and then... But this is like pretty amazing because we could do this. I mean, can we bring these to Nashville?
No. Nashville has a ban on these types of microphones.
Because I want to do a tour that's like, come find our property with us.
Okay.
And wouldn't that be fun to have these on?
Sure.
Just like recording all the junk that we're saying?
Yeah. I know people want to watch us and hear much better, you know? It feels really weird though for me to be doing this. No mic, no hands. Like I really feel like I need to.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
Ash and I recorded a podcast earlier this week for some. Are we allowed to say?
Yeah.
Yeah, we recorded a podcast for Focus on the Family, and for the first half of it, I literally I didn't know what to do with my hands, and I kept.
You were, yeah.
You didn't know where I was going with all this?
I thought you were meant. I was thinking about the second one we did. No, but you were. See, you do that.
I know. I'm like, wait.
And
what?
You're like, wait, what? I was like, babe, you're covering your face the whole time.
Just when I was not talking, I use it as like a. Yes. Oh, very pondering this thing you're saying.
It's your ponder.
I got a hot take.
Wait, should we hot take on Colorado?
Sure. The best Asian food that we've ever had.
All the food. So
all right, we can do your hot take and then my hot take and then.
All right, Denver was. We've been to Denver a few times. Usually we go for work stuff, and this time we just hit it right. The food was the best. Everything. The best bakery was Bakery 4. The best lunch we had Mediterranean.
Yep.
That was Ashkara.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That was insane.
The gyro was insane.
That was
and
really
then
good.
Dinner, I don't even remember the name. It started with an M. It was in Cherry Creek. It was like Matsuya.
I don't know.
It was the best. Every single thing that we got there was incredible. If you like that crispy rice with tuna on top, man, that's like our favorite thing to get. And
we've been talking about food right now.
I'm getting for years. This was the best.
It's true.
Anyway, so the food was so good. It snowed a little bit while we were there. It was a really fun trip.
It snowed a lot a bit.
Yeah.
That was terrifying.
Yeah.
I haven't driven in snow in a long time.
Yeah. And I was thinking about it because we had to go for work, and right afterwards I was like, man, kind of wish we could change our flights because I just want to get home to be with the kids, and we have a lot of stuff going on right now, a lot of decisions we're making and just like big stuff, and we're going out of town again and then again. And anyways, I couldn't change the flights because to do it, it was going to be $800 and I wasn't going to do that. Dino was
so bummed.
Not wanting to go home at all. And so
Well, my side of things is like I get gas in the tank by one-on-one time with you.
You got to get gassed up.
You got to, right? You got to. I have been running on empty for a while now, so I just needed a little bit of time just to. I mean, the best part of the trip was yesterday morning. We had nothing going on, and you and I finished reading our Bibles. I finished and just like laid there, and then you went into commentary for another hour and like read and stuff like that, and I just laid there. I wasn't even asleep. I just like was restful, and I cannot express how important that is just in general. It's tough because there's certain people that are like, oh, well, I love just doing that all the time. And there's certain people that are high functioning and like always cranked up to 11. And like, that's a good, it's this
still
balance.
In quiet time. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I think it's just important. It's really important just for us to have quiet time. And that doesn't mean relaxing and scrolling on your phone and goofing around. It just means like, what if I was just quiet and allowed my ears to listen and just pray when God puts something on my heart, kind of thing.
I think that we as parents, and I think a lot of times moms definitely feel this way, that to do that is like a luxury.
Yeah, it is.
And that I don't deserve it, or I don't have time for it, or I don't set the time aside for it. It's like too luxurious, but God calls us to be still with Him and to be quiet with Him. And I was thinking about that when we were watching the House of David show. I don't even know if it was his mom. She said something to him, and she just was like, deep calls to deep, and in that quiet, just to be quiet. And in the still, that's where you're going to hear the Lord.
Yeah.
But we don't even give ourselves a moment to be still because we pick up our phones, we, turn on the TV, we turn on the radio. Oh, not radio. Who listens to radio? We turn on Spotify.
I 100% know, and I'm very guilty of it. If there's ever any quiet, I'm like, oh, pick up my phone. Oh, what's this? Oh, I can't have just quiet. It's
a discipline. And years ago, we got given a book. It was this little devotional book. I don't even remember what it was called. And every day you just read like a little thing that big. But the point of it was you were to be still and quiet for 2 minutes before you read it and then 2 minutes afterwards. And that was very hard to do.
Yeah.
You weren't even supposed to pray. It was just like to be still and be silent and just like allow, and if you could sit there for longer, great. But I would set my alarm on my phone for 2 minutes and I would be like, it's so hard to do.
It's ridiculous to me that in today's day and age, nobody has the ability to just sit still and be quiet. It really sucks.
I think that we can, again, it's another discipline that we can instill in our lives and say, this is important to me and this is what.
No, I just think it's funny because in today's day and age, basically, people are trying to put these types of discipline and routine into their lives. And I was watching this funny video of a guy who was doing this. He's like, all right, I'm following this morning routine I'm supposed to follow. And it was like 4 hours then of trying to create like a morning routine discipline. Like, all right, 30 minutes of cold plunge and then 20 minutes of infrared and then 30 minutes of reading and then 30 minutes of meditate. Like, it's almost like the pendulum swung the other direction.
Yeah, you can, because a lot of society says to just jam your day filled. Like if you have kids, you need to make sure they're in sports. You need to make sure they're doing this. You gotta, are they socializing enough? Like all the things that you could just jam inside of your day. And then of course you have responsibilities and the house to take care of and a job.
Yeah.
And then I got to pay attention to you, So it's like these things, but we have to carve out time. And when we do, it's really special. It should be special, but it also shouldn't be special.
Yeah.
Like it should just be the norm that we do that.
Yeah. All I had to say, Colorado was really nice.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about the podcast that we did there.
Yeah. Do it.
This is what the podcast
The whole podcast has been decided. Just like that. Let's go.
So, because remember we said we were going to talk about this?
I do now. I remember now Go.
So we ended up going there for this podcast interview with the CEO of Focused on the Family, and it was very formal kind of setting in their setup. It was great. And then afterwards, we thought we were done and we were going to go to lunch.
It was 30 minutes and it was very quick. Who are you? What's going on? How do you
Yes, the questions were very quick. It was about our book and our story, so it was very quick answers. And you know how Dino do with that. That don't fly here. I was like, you gotta zip it, man, because
he already warned me leading into it too. He must have known me. He's like, you gotta chill out and make sure it's short answers. Yeah, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, so after we were done with that, though, they pulled us into another room that was more like this sort of a setup, and they asked us to do an interview where it was like this, and there's people behind the cameras, and they were asking us questions, and then we would just talk amongst ourselves. Well, that was great because we could just sit here and talk forever. But what was very interesting to us and cool, these young girls were interviewing us and they were so sweet. One was the head of the family and parenting side.
Yeah, parenting.
And then the other girl was the head of the marriage side. And they were asking us a bunch of questions. And I could see them out of the corner of my eye when we were answering. And they were like, gosh,
there's no way these girls are actually interested in
no
the
they were I'm not they were not just
there's
and then
no way. All right,
after we'd finished the question, they were just like, wow, really? Oh, that thank you, and I'm not saying that we had the most epic the point of this is that I was shocked and I was surprised. These are young Christian women that, to me, especially the parenting stuff that you could tell, I don't think they weren't married, so they didn't have kids or anything. And the marriage stuff, though, and they're not married either, so they didn't know this. But I was kind of shocked and surprised by some of the things that they would say afterwards, and the things that they didn't know, or that we said that to us is the norm.
Yeah.
And for them, it was like mind blowing. One of the things was we mentioned how valuable marriage is. And we talked about, she was like, tell me why marriage is good. Because right now in, our culture and even in the Christian world, people are saying,
well, she was interested in getting married, or she was basically on the trajectory, and people were coming to her and warning her, like, you should not do this. Are you sure
to not get married? Christian, people that are married are saying you should not get married. It's going to be way too hard. Things are going to get worse. You shouldn't do this. And she just it's so discouraging because I'm dating somebody. We talk about marriage, but we have people constantly in our ear talking about how awful marriage is.
It's so messed up. I mean, hopefully this is some of you and I are contributing to the opposite narrative.
Yes. I know that what we're saying is very countercultural.
Yeah.
We can see that in the comments that we get. We are either the taste of whatever, honey?
No, sweet smell, the aroma of incense or rotting death.
Yes, there you go.
Stench of death.
There is no in between with us. You either love us or you hate us, and you know what? It's okay. But I just thought it'd be interesting to talk about that. Even some of the questions that they were asking us, I thought it'd be interesting to talk about. Yeah. So, why do you feel like marriage is important? Do you know?
Oh, thank you, Ashley. I'm so glad. The first interview was super was very so tell me that, and then the second one was more casual. So it was it was an interesting day to go from on to more relaxed. And anyways, what was the question? This is what happens now. I get fried.
Why is marriage important? What is the value of marriage and why is it important?
Yeah, I mean, this is a tricky.
Is it fun being married? I can sit up like this.
You can. You can
because I'm not attached.
You can do anything you want with your hands. You're very free.
Okay.
It's so hard because you want to start off and being like, my knee-jerk reaction is marriage is amazing. It's super awesome. You have way more fun. You have somebody that has your back, and there's all these attributes of it. But I feel like you and I don't know. I was trying to talk with another buddy as well about the same idea, and you and I have just done so much work that eventually it becomes easy, right?
Yeah.
And I think that is kind of the picture you have to have in mind with marriage, is that it's the same as lifting weights and training. If you go to the gym and you're being super consistent about it, and then you do the right things, you eat correctly, macros are right, then you get good results out of it. And then going to the gym kind of becomes easy. It's like a maintenance program. You just go in and handle some stuff. It's the same kind of concept with marriage. It is very, very difficult if you contribute nothing to it. You don't try very hard. But if you're going to get basically out of that what you put into it if you're not investing into it. And I feel like to answer that person's question with the underlying problem they're kind of asserting is you have to actually know what it is that you want to get after and the benefits of it. And then you have to do the work for it, because if you're not doing it, then you're just going to have a roommate.
Yeah. And
then you're going to get the benefits of a roommate. Most of the time that's really annoying.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But because your roommates do stupid stuff and leave crap out and are selfish, but if you follow after the pattern that God has said for your marriage, things go really, really well for you. But I feel like that is the problem, is that the majority of people don't get good examples of good marriages to model after and then get to see the benefits of it,
Yeah, and then you and I were also talking about on the trip, because we were talking about this question, and then we were saying that a lot of the times too is that people hear the stuff, just like we can read what the Bible says, and then we don't do it. Yeah. Well, you hear a way to model marriage, or you hear a path forward that is a positive trajectory in marriage, and then it's just too much work. Or I am too prideful and I don't want to sacrifice the things that I want for the things that you want.
Yeah. Yeah, the verse that you mentioned earlier, and I'm going to butcher it even though we already butchered it, but the Bible talks about how to those around you, you are either the smell of incense or the stench of death, right? And I feel like that's when you give a good word, a message about hey, if you do these things, this is what we're doing. We're talking about what the Bible says about marriage. And that can be highly confrontational to someone because it means that, hey, I have to make changes and adjustments to my marriage. Or, wow, that's validating and I actually get benefits out of this, right? So to talk to your point, like, yeah, it does suck. Marriage sucks when you do nothing and you don't invest in it and you don't do the work. But if you do the work and then also are intentional about seeking after the Lord and having Him change who you are in your marriage, then things go really well.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times what happens is what we talk about on here often is that we go into marriage and you want somebody to change their ways. But remember we were talking about this, about like changing who's going to change first and the upward spiral inside of a marriage.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we're waiting for the other person to change their ways first, because if we were to do a poll, which we were saying I was going to do this,
done it.
well, we'll come back. I'll do it after this, and
Yeah.
then we'll come back and share it next time. But if you were to do a poll, which I'll do, would you say that your marriage would be better if I made changes or if my spouse made changes? And I'm going to go out. We were talking about this.
Go out on a limb here.
Go out on a limb
You're
here.
gonna get nuts.
I think I would assume, because from personal experience, that's what I did, is I'm like, well, Dino needs to work out more. He needs to stop playing video games. He needs to do this, and he doesn't give me enough, but once he does these things, then our marriage will be great, and I'll be a better wife too.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm not going to put energy or effort into this when they're not even putting any effort at all, right?
Yeah.
And I'm trying, but they're not, right? Yeah. But the reality is both are probably saying that. Yeah. Both are probably pointing the finger at the other person.
Okay, so who would you say, what would you say are the changes that you need to make? Like, what is the right answer for that?
Yeah, I actually was talking with one of my buddies on this, because almost every single guy that I counsel says this exact same thing. It's like, hey, I'm trying, but I have nothing's going on the other side.
Everybody that I've ever talked to has said the same thing.
Yeah, I'm really trying.
Including myself.
And I would attest to that too. It is 100% you and your fault. So.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but
truth be known.
But I was talking with him about it, and I was like, you should basically set the mentality that you do 99 and the other person does 1%. And you should also set the mentality that you're going to have to do this for an extremely long period of time. Like, set that as the expectation. And when I say do this, I mean, put the other person first and be intentional and expect nothing in return at all for a very long duration.
But that sounds like such a Debbie Downer.
It really is. It's such a bummer.
But then people go back to the same point. Well, why would I even get married?
That's a good point, right? And if you want to basically operate that way, then you shouldn't. You shouldn't get married if you basically are running under the expectation that I'll let them do all the work and then I'll do none. Or, I really expect 50-50, because number one, that's impossible. Everything's subjective, right?
And there's going to be times when I'm sick or you're sick.
Exactly.
Or you have to carry me and I have to carry you.
Exactly.
We've done that many a times where our roles just switch based off of like life.
All the time.
And circumstances.
That is all the time. And I would wager that two people in a healthy marriage both think they're probably carrying 90 to 95% of the things, right? And that's actually when you get things successful. If we're both trying to outserve the other one, right? When you get into that state of, I don't care what I'm getting, I just care about making sure that I'm doing my responsibility to my spouse. Like, that's my priority and that's my focus. Then things go really, really well for you, you know?
Yeah.
It was funny. We were sitting at dinner, and you and I were talking about breakfast. And because Ash gets really excited about planning the next meal kind of thing. And she is like, oh, and then for breakfast, she's like, oh, no, wait, we're going to do room service tomorrow. And it was just like, that was very sweet of you, because I like to do food in the room and just sit and relax. And like, that is incredible. How often do you get food brought to the room kind of thing? But I was like, that was really sweet of you, but we're not doing that. That's not going to happen. We'll wake up in the morning and I'm not going to eat. Food does not revolve around me. I don't care about food. You do. So I'd rather just go and do something. But the mentality was, you were genuine in saying, hey, I know that's important to you. I'm going to go and do that thing. And I was the same way. I was like, no, we're not doing that. more important for me to feed you in that area, you know?
Yeah.
But that's when things start to go well, when you stop thinking about what am I going to get. And the other side of this, you and I were talking about it too. Like, think about this logical fallacy of, all right, well, I'm not going to give you anything then, right? Well, okay, let's work through that. I'm telling a person I'm counseling, hey, you should expect to give 99 and get 0 in return. And your response is, well, I don't want to do that because I'm not going to get it. I've done that and I don't get anything out of it at all, right? And it's like, okay, well then think that through logically. Let's do it your way.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you going to net out?
Yeah, exactly. What's the end?
Yeah.
What's the end goal?
Where are we going here?
Yeah.
You know, you're going to sit right where you're at still then for another decade. Or you're going to have just a roommate then, and you're going to handle 50%, or you guys can sit down and write all the rules. You do this and I do this kind of thing. Like, is that the type of relationship that you're going to want to have? Again, this all goes back to what you and I generally are trying to get across here, is that when you have a spirit-led relationship, things go really, really well for you.
Yeah.
But if you have a flesh-based relationship where I'm going to run under transactions with you and I handle these things, you handle those things, right? Or I will give when I get something. That transactional style of relationship is not God's design. That's not how God designed marriage.
I mean, I guess the question to ask too is, you know, let's say you do say, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to be super selfless and I'm going to put away my pride and I'm going to serve the other person wholeheartedly. Mm-hmm. What are you going to lose? Like, right? What's the worst thing that you could lose?
Yeah.
By serving somebody with all of your heart.
Yeah. What is to be lost on
reading
all this?
That in our reading in the Bible right now, and it says, I don't remember which one, but it's like, and he wholly followed the Lord.
Yeah.
And he wholly followed the Lord. What if we wholly served our spouses?
Yeah. I have also seen over and over with the guys I'm counseling that they're exhausted from doing that. And my response lately has been, okay, how? How are you serving? Are you muscling through this and just like, I'm going to grit and bear through this and just do the thing with like the underlying heart of reluctance? Or are you going to the Lord and being like, I am actually incapable of loving my wife.
I'm empty.
I have nothing left in me and I need to be filled up by you. I'm going to read your word and study it this morning. I'm going to dedicate time and I want to just hear from you. And at the same time, I'm asking for you to change my heart as I read your word. That is how you actually get impactful change, right? But when you're going through the motions or checking the box or reading your word, but not actually studying it.
No, but that is the thing that I think that we are on fire with right now, just in general, is that no more of this lukewarm stuff. And that's with our personal walks with the Lord and how we're, spending time with him and reading the word. And that's how we're interacting in our marriages. And then also just what we're doing and how we're feeding into our children and the type of men and women we want to grow them up to be. And what are we doing at work too, and the time that we're spending there and the things that we hold so dearly.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like since this year and all the things we've been going through and then being so into like deep into the word and just this desire from both you and I to be stripped of all of the things that make us and have God be filling us instead of our things, it's like changed everything.
Yeah.
And that has to be the root of everything that we do.
I've been really struggling to try and figure out what this formula is to give other people, because they've seen it in us and they're hungry for it and they've asked for it. Hey, what do I do? How do I get more of these types of things? And it's been really hard because there's certain guys that'll come alongside and they're like, yeah, I'm reading my Bible, but I'm not getting any impactful change out of this kind of thing. What is the big change that is actually taking place? Obviously, there's the discipline side to it. Oh, I'm going to set my alarm and wake up. And then I'm going to read my Bible and allocate time towards it and prioritize it, right? So there's the discipline and part of it. There's the prioritization part of it. How do you actually, what has taken place that's caused you and I to actually have impactful change on this to make it so that when we're reading our word, where it's coming alive?
I think all the things that you said are very important and they need to be there because I do think that there have been times, or the majority of my life, read the Bible almost every day or tried to be pretty disciplined on it. But I wasn't intentional about like what I was reading exactly. I just kind of was, we just started being intentional. Like I just would pick a random book and just be, which is fine.
Yeah.
So there was no intentionality behind it. I was also, okay, I'm going to read a chapter a day. So I was setting some limits on myself and then just checking a box. Basically, I read my Bible. Okay, like if God wanted to speak to me, he could have spoke to me, sort of thing, So I think we've introduced prayer for sure beforehand. That's a 100% necessity, so that we are being emptied and that we are being filled with whatever we're reading. Then we're dedicating time and we have the discipline to give it time to read it, slow down and consume it. And then even if we're not getting it fully, we having this desire to go read more and to pull from it. But if I really look at the root and everything behind it, there was a desire for more from me. And that's what I was feeling. And I think that God placed that there.
I don't disagree
like
with
a
bit.
pull.
Yeah.
And so I think he pulls on us and he has that desire for each and every one of us. But do we listen? And for me, I felt like he was, I thought that this specific study or even just reading the Bible, I just kept seeing it. It kept being placed in front of me or talked about or whatever, when I've always been like fine, I'll just read the Bible, but I read books because that's what I understand. And then I'll go back to the Bible to understand the Bible. And it was just like, no, it was a pressing on my heart that I just knew that it was from God that said, no, I want you to read my word. And so does he do that? Does he call to all of us all the time?
Yeah.
And we just are like, I don't have time, but this is in the way.
I really think this is, and, I do. Yeah.
And then even like I said to you last year, I said, I really feel like God is pushing us more towards a ministry mindset, and I would love to see those things from you. And do you remember how we kind of like argued about it?
So this is what I was going to say. For me, it's been the accountability aspect of it. I was reluctant to commit and do it with you for whatever, I'm certain fleshly reasons, because I just didn't want to have to go
and also I think that for you too is that, I was telling you the things that I wanted, I was going to be doing at the Merc and the things that I was getting placed on my heart and that I was getting excited about. And I was talking about it with you and feeling like I want us to be praying about what else we could be doing. And you got a little bit like, whoa. Like I do what I do sort of thing.
Yeah. My excuse was like
territorial of your time and the things that you do.
Yeah. I think that was just pride, because I was like, I do my things my way. And fear of discomfort, because I'm like, I don't want to commit to something else that's over here.
Totally.
I'm already investing in 6 or 7 guys right now that I'm trying to like one-on-one feed into. Do I want to go and switch gears and do this? But it was really just laziness and pride kind of thing. But once you and I kind of got aligned on it, the accountability aspect of it was incredible. That created something in me where it's like,
well, how did we get aligned? Let's not skip a step.
Yeah. Well,
because I had that desire first.
Yeah. I actually just talked to one of my buddies about this today, because, I'm trying to encourage him to do the same thing. And his kind of mentality is like, how do I approach this then with my girl? And my 2 cents was like, you should go to her, 2 Christian couple, Christian husband, Christian wife, go to your girl and be like, hey, I'm at a state where I'm not stable and I need help. And the way that I'm going to get help from you in this is I want you and I to be spiritually aligned, because I don't know how to handle this thing I'm dealing with right now. But I want you and I to be able to navigate it together.
Yeah.
So would you be interested in committing to this with me so that you and I can go and navigate this area together? Right? So it was almost like, from my perspective, I was trying to get him to posture himself from the perspective of, I need more with you to do this, I need help.
Also starting.
Yeah.
And I would say a big part of it for you and I was I started it and I was excited about it and I was on fire about it. Yeah. And talking to you about it, not like, I wish you would do it with me and nagging you, but like excited. And I was doing it. I don't care who else was doing it, but I wanted to tell everybody. Yeah. And I think that got you excited. And you're like,
Yeah.
wait, I want to hang out too.
Yeah.
Like, what are we learning?
I mean, it was really fun too, because there's aspects. I mean, this is why I'm like, I don't know if it's us that this is specific to that we, or if it's something that's more generic. Because for me, yeah, you're right. You instigated, and then I got kind of excited about it. And then at the same time, I'm like, well, I also want to maintain this position of like, I'm the one who's like, the authority, not authority in our house, but I'm the one who is the spiritual leader of our home. I don't want that to get away from me. I want to continue to be the one who understands these things and can spiritually lead our family and lead you. And if I then allow your skill set to all of a sudden develop, and I'm being honest, like, what if all of a sudden you became like way more advanced than me? That's going to make that points a finger back at me that I'm not being responsible for my role in the household, you know? So part of me, if I'm, again, being super vulnerable and honest here, was just chill. Then I don't have to do so much, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. There's a lot to almost unpack here. There's going to be a lot of different reasons. I'm trying to like, you know, search me and know me, oh Lord, in this scenario. Yeah. And that, I'm being honest, like that is a big chunk of it. I didn't want to have to bite off more when I'm already feeling like I'm buried in a million different areas.
And now how do you feel?
The only way I could have gotten through all the things that went on this last bit is because you and I have been bonded by the Word of God, and we've been daily seeking after Him. And the amazing part is that because of that, the hard things that have been going on and us leaning into the Word, I've been torn apart and torn down from the hard things, and then been building it back up at the same time correctly.
Correctly, I know. That's what I said at the very beginning. I'm like, it feels like a rebuilding of my faith, but the right way.
Correct.
So that when arrows are getting shot and like the things that have been said or have been done, they don't matter.
It goes back to the same thing that like blew you in my mind at the same time. I know who I am.
I know who I am.
I know who I am.
Yeah.
Right? When hard things are going on, and Satan's lying to you, people are lying to you, but you know what your mission is. And you know who God's created you to be because you've been seeking after what that is on a consistent basis. And then something comes up that is a deviation from that, and you've been consistently in your word, your response is, I know who I am.
Yeah.
I don't need to hear this from you.
Yeah, not what social media says.
No.
Not what your family says.
Yeah.
Not what even your spouse says.
Yeah.
This is exactly where our focus should be. And this is why marriage is so awesome.
Right? Exactly. Seriously. There's, you want to know, back to the full circle, why is marriage so awesome? That right there is why marriage is so awesome.
This should be the foundation of everyone's relationship in marriage, is to be seeking after the Lord together, seeking after the Lord separately, and then coming together and seeking after the Lord together. Yeah. And then in that, you get the benefits of growing together, and you get the benefits of going through really hard things together, and then seeing God do incredible things through that to each one of you while supporting one another and loving one another, dying to yourself and building up the other person.
This is the answer to that girl, but this is not the one we probably gave. We probably gave one that was more superficial.
No, I think the answer was great because I saw them out of the corner of my eye, and they were like...
But this is, for reals, this is so much better of an answer than the general response that you can only give without giving a backstory to the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
It's the answer is when you are torn down and destroyed, your spouse is there to then be destroyed alongside you, and then ideally pointing your eyes back towards the Lord, so the two of you then can say, hey, I know who I am and I know who you are. Now let's get going back and being rebuilt by the Lord. Right?
Yeah.
That is freaking what marriage is about. That is so cool. It's the hard times that you and I have gone through that then we got bonded correctly. Because again, you can go through hard times and it destroy you and wreck your marriage.
Yeah.
Or you can go through these really hard times and it can fortify and build and develop. Or strip apart your marriage and then put it back together correctly. Mm-hmm. You know?
We gotta, and that's why it's important. I think just going back to what was so different about this specific time too, that caused us to go deeper and get out of the lukewarm. Because I don't even say we were lukewarm, but now looking back, it feels like we were.
Yeah.
You know?
I probably still am very lukewarm in comparison to where
yes, I just was saying that today. I'm not what I should be. I'm not what I could be, but I'm not what I was. Praise God. Praise be to God. He saved me from myself. Was singing that song.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah. And it's like, yes, we always want to be moving forward, but what was about this time in particular in these last few months? And I think that, we have to be listening to those little promptings. We have to be giving ourselves that quiet time, that still time, circling back to that.
Yeah.
So that we can hear from the Lord. And then when he is saying, hey, I really want you to read my word right now and not books.
You said it earlier, is maybe God just said it now and I wasn't listening before, or maybe I was listening and he wasn't speaking. I really believe like God is always begging us, hey, I'm here. It's just we have our hands over our ears and the noise on the thing blasted, cranked out to 11. And then when he speaks to us, we stop being able to discern his voice. So that when he speaks, it's like, you ignore a voice long enough and it kind of gets drowned out.
What if we tuned out the other things more and could hear him more?
I think that's a good chunk of the problem that most marriages run into. Even the ones that are like, quote unquote, doing the right thing. They're like, oh, we're going to church and we're in small group together and we're doing all the things we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, it's busyness does not mean success in a marriage. Busyness filling your time with every church event does not mean that you have a good marriage.
Yeah.
You should say probably no to everything. Get your house in order and then get involved.
Seriously. Yeah. I got nothing left.
Marriage is awesome.
Marriage is awesome. All right. Have a good week, guys.